What would you do if the ocean turned against you? For centuries, the sea has been a place of wonder and danger. Beneath the waves, deadly predators lurk, striking without warning. Swimmers, divers, and even trained professionals have fallen victim to nature's most efficient killers. Some encounters end in survival, others in tragedy. These real-life stories prove that you're never truly safe in the ocean. In January 2025, the peaceful waters of Gansbaai, South Africa, became the center of a terrifying mystery. The small coastal town, known for its thriving shark cage diving industry, has always attracted adventure seekers worldwide. However, in the past month, 4 people had gone missing under unusual circumstances, leaving the community on edge. Simon Jacobs, 45, and Lucas Meyer, 38, were experienced divers who shared a passion for exploring the underwater world. They often ventured into the deep waters off Dyer Island, an area famous for its great white shark population. On the morning of their disappearance, they had set out for a routine dive, excited to capture footage of the marine life. They checked their equipment, discussed safety protocols, and assured their families they would return by sunset. However, the alarm was raised when night fell, and their boat remained anchored with no sign of them. A search team scoured the waters, but no trace of them was found. Rachel Adams, 25, was a tourist from London who had been traveling alone through South Africa. Fascinated by the ocean, she had decided to snorkel near Dyer Island despite warnings about strong currents and potential shark activity. She had been seen by a few beachgoers that morning, happily wading into the water. An hour later, her belongings were still on the shore, but she was nowhere to be seen. Authorities launched a search, but no evidence of an attack or accident was found. Brian Van Zyl, 17, was a local surfer who spent most of his free time riding the waves at Gansbaai Beach. His family had always warned him about the dangers of the ocean, but he had grown up in those waters and felt confident about his skills. On the day he vanished, he had told his friends he was heading out for one last surf before sunset. Witnesses later reported unusual splashes in the water, followed by an eerie silence. His surfboard washed up on shore hours later, broken and covered in deep bite marks. As days passed, fear grew among the residents. Theories spread rapidly. Some believed the victims had been caught in strong currents, while others suspected something far more dangerous lurking beneath the surface. Despite patrols and warnings, no solid answers were found. Then, on January 18th, fishermen captured a massive 22-foot great white shark near the same waters where the 4 had disappeared. The shark behaved strangely, circling boats and showing no fear of human presence. When the animal was examined, what the investigators found inside its stomach shocked everyone. The remains of all 4 missing individuals, Simon, Lucas, Rachel, and Brian, were discovered, confirming the worst fears. The discovery sent a wave of horror through the town. What had seemed like isolated disappearances now had a terrifying explanation. The mystery of the missing had been solved, but it left a chilling realization that the waters of Gansbaai held greater dangers than anyone had imagined. The news of the shocking discovery spread quickly through the town of Gansbaai. People who had once viewed the ocean as a place of beauty now saw it as a place of fear. The families of the victims were devastated. They had spent weeks holding on to hope that their loved ones would be found alive. Now they had to face the painful truth. Authorities confirmed that the remains of Simon Jacobs, Lucas Meyer, Rachel Adams, and Brian Van Zyl had been found inside the great white shark. Forensic experts carefully determined how each had become the shark's prey. Based on their findings, it was likely that all 4 had been attacked separately over several weeks. The size and behavior of the shark suggested it had been hunting in the area for some time. Some experts believed the animal had been drawn closer to shore due to food shortages in deeper waters. Others thought it had developed a pattern of targeting humans after its first attack. The town was shaken. Local fishermen refused to go to sea, fearing more sharks might be nearby. Tourists canceled their trips, and businesses that relied on ocean activities suffered. The authorities put warning signs along the beaches, advising people to stay out of the water until further notice. Shark experts and marine biologists arrived to study the situation. Some argued that the shark had only followed its instincts. Others remained convinced that its removal was necessary to restore a sense of safety. The incident also raised questions about safety. Residents demanded better warnings for visitors. Many believed that the victims had not been aware of the true risks. Some argued that stricter rules should exist for divers and snorkelers in high-risk areas. The authorities promised to review their policies and take stronger measures to protect people from future attacks. In the following weeks, the town struggled to move forward. A memorial was held for the victims, where friends and family gathered to honor their memories. People shared stories about Simon and Lucas and their love for the ocean. They remembered Rachel as an adventurous traveler who wanted to see the world. Brian was remembered as a young surfer with a bright future ahead of him. Their lives had been taken too soon, and the loss weighed heavily on those who knew them. Despite the tragedy, experts reminded people that sharks were not mindless killers. Attacks on humans were rare, and most sharks did not see people as prey. However, this case was different. The sheer size of the shark and the number of victims made it one of the most terrifying incidents in recent history. Some people slowly returned to the water as time passed, but the fear never fully disappeared. The ocean remained a place of both wonder and danger. The events of January 2025 left a mark on Gansbai, reminding people that nature can be unpredictable, and that even the most experienced swimmers are never truly safe. On September 12, 2024, the cold waters of a remote Norwegian fjord became the site of a horrifying event. Lars Sorensen, a 40-year-old marine biologist and experienced diver, was part of a research team studying the region's rich marine life. Lars had dedicated his life to understanding the ocean, particularly its large aquatic mammals. He had spent years researching orcas, fascinated by their intelligence and behavior. Born and raised in Bergen, Norway, he had developed a deep connection to the sea from an early age. His work had taken him to different parts of the world, but the Norwegian fjords always remained his favorite place. The research team had set out early in the morning, eager to explore the underwater ecosystem. The fjord, known for its deep waters and diverse wildlife, was home to seals, fish, and large marine predators. The team spotted a few orcas from their boat and decided to enter the water for closer observation. Lars and two other divers slowly descended beneath the surface, their cameras ready to capture footage. The clear water allowed them to see the pod of orcas swimming nearby. At first, the orcas showed no signs of aggression. They moved gracefully, their black and white bodies cutting through the water with ease. As the divers continued their study, one of the orcas suddenly changed its behavior. Without warning, it moved quickly toward Lars, closing the distance in seconds. Before he could react, the massive animal rammed into him with full force. The impact sent him tumbling backward, his body twisting in the water. The sheer power of the orca's body left him momentarily stunned. His team members watched in shock as the orca came back around. The powerful predator grabbed Lars by the torso, dragging him deeper. The force of the attack was too much and he could not break free. The other divers desperately tried to intervene. One signaled to the boat while another attempted to move toward Lars. But the orca was too fast and too strong. Within moments, Lars was fatally injured. The water, once calm and peaceful, was now filled with panic. Horrified and helpless, his teammates watched as the orca finally released him. His body floated motionless beneath the surface. On the boat, the rest of the team scrambled to help. The divers in the water managed to retrieve Lars and bring him up, but it was already too late. His injuries were too severe, and he had succumbed before they could get him back on board. The attack had happened so quickly that no one could fully process what had just occurred. The boat raced back to shore, carrying the shaken researchers and Lars' lifeless body. The attack had left everyone in disbelief. Orcas were not known for attacking humans in the wild, making this incident both shocking and terrifying. As the team reached land, news of the tragedy spread, leaving the scientific community and the public searching for answers. The team remained in shock. The weight of what had happened filled the air with silence. Lars Sorensen, once a passionate and skilled diver, was gone. His lifeless body was carried from the boat, his injuries showing the brutal force of the attack. Paramedics arrived quickly, but there was nothing they could do. Officials covered the scene, trying to understand how such a rare and tragic event had occurred. News of the incident spread fast. The local authorities launched an immediate investigation. The research team was questioned, each member struggling to explain what had happened. Experts in marine biology were called in to analyze the behavior of the orcas. Many believed orcas were not naturally aggressive toward humans. Some suggested that the orca might have been confused or reacting to an unknown trigger. Others thought it could have been an unusual predatory act. The fjord, once a place of beauty and discovery, now evoked fear. Many divers and researchers who had worked with orcas for years could not believe the incident had occurred. People who knew Lars spoke about his love for the ocean and his dedication to understanding marine life. His colleagues described him as careful and experienced, never taking unnecessary risks. The local government temporarily restricted diving activities in the area while the investigation continued. Scientists reviewed underwater footage from the team's cameras, hoping to find clues about what led to the attack. They studied the behavior of the orcas in that region, checking for any changes in their environment. Some wondered if shifting food sources or human interaction had affected the orcas' instincts. The research community debated possible reasons, but no clear answer emerged. Lars's loss deeply affected his family, friends, and colleagues. People from around the world sent messages of support and sorrow. His family held a private memorial in Bergen, where he had spent his early years exploring the sea. Researchers who had worked with him shared stories of his kindness, intelligence, and dedication. The diving community honored him by continuing his work, determined to understand what had happened. Marine conservationists used the incident to raise awareness about human interactions with large predators. Discussions about ocean safety increased, with experts emphasizing the unpredictable nature of wild animals. Despite years of studying orcas, scientists were reminded that their behavior could never be fully predicted. Lars's colleagues returned to the water weeks later, although they feared another attack. They cautiously continued their research, knowing what had happened to him would never be forgotten. His name became part of marine biology history, not just for his contributions, but also for the tragic way his life ended. Though the exact cause of the attack remained unknown, one thing was certain. The vast and mysterious ocean would always hold secrets humans could never fully understand. On July 5, 2024, Sarah Walker and her husband Tom arrived at Point Reyes, a beautiful coastal area in California known for its scenic cliffs and vast ocean. Sarah, 34 years old, had always loved the sea. She grew up in San Diego, where she spent much of her childhood swimming, surfing, and exploring tide pools. She later pursued marine biology in college, fascinated by the mysteries of ocean life. Though she worked as a teacher, she remained passionate about nature and often spent weekends hiking or visiting the beach with Tom. The couple married for 5 years and frequently traveled to different coastal destinations. They found peace in the sound of the waves and the feeling of being surrounded by open water. The sun shone brightly that morning, and the air was warm with a slight breeze. It was the perfect day for a swim. Sarah and Tom set up their towels on the sand, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere before entering the water. The water was calm as they swam further from shore, and the horizon stretched endlessly ahead. The couple laughed and floated, unaware of the danger lurking beneath them. Without warning, an 18-foot great white shark emerged from the depths, its dark shape moving quickly. The massive predator circled them, sending a wave of fear through the air. Sarah and Tom froze for a moment, hoping it would pass. But in an instant, the shark attacked. It clamped down on Sarah's leg with incredible force, dragging her downward. The water muffled her scream as she struggled to break free. Tom, only a few feet away, immediately swam toward her, his heart pounding in terror. He grabbed her arm, pulling with all his strength, but the shark was relentless. It thrashed violently, tearing into Sarah's torso, its powerful jaws inflicting fatal wounds. The water turned red as she fought against the predator's grip. Tom continued to struggle, desperate to save her, but the force of the attack was too strong. Sarah was pulled deeper and deeper until she disappeared beneath the waves. Tom, gasping for breath, searched the water, hoping she would resurface. But there was nothing. The only sound was the crashing waves, the vast ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. He called out for help, his voice breaking with panic. Another swimmer nearby spotted him and quickly signaled for assistance. A rescue team arrived within minutes, scanning the waters for any sign of Sarah. Boats and helicopters searched the area, but the ocean had already taken her. Her body was never recovered, lost to the sea. The attack left the beach in silence. Swimmers hurried back to shore, their faces pale with shock. Once a place of beauty and joy, the coastline now held a chilling reminder of nature's power. Tom, exhausted and grief-stricken, was taken to safety, his mind unable to grasp the tragedy that had just unfolded. Tom was pulled onto the rescue boat, his body shaking from exhaustion and shock. The ocean stretched around him, calm once again as if nothing had happened. But he knew the truth. The search continued for hours, with boats and helicopters scanning the water, but there was no trace of Sarah. The realization set in that she was gone forever. On the shore, emergency responders surrounded Tom, checking for injuries. His hands were scraped, his muscles ached, but the pain inside was far worse. He sat on the sand, staring at the waves, unable to speak. Beachgoers whispered among themselves, their faces filled with disbelief. Fear spread through the crowd as they realized how quickly everything had changed. As the news of the attack spread, the authorities took immediate action. Officials placed warning signs along the coastline, urging visitors to stay close to shore. Patrol boats were sent out to watch for shark activity, and some local beaches were temporarily closed. Marine experts were called in to analyze the situation. They explained that great white sharks often mistake swimmers for seals, their natural prey. The attack was not an act of aggression, but rather a tragic accident. Tom refused to leave the beach for hours, hoping for a miracle. As the sun began to set, he was finally taken home by close friends who had rushed to support him. The loss of Sarah was unbearable. She had been his partner, his best friend, and now she was gone. The shared home felt empty, filled only with memories of their time together. The next day, authorities continued their search, but after several days with no results, they declared that Sarah's body would likely never be found. Tom struggled to accept this reality. He looked at old photos, remembering how she smiled and loved the ocean. He could not understand how something so beautiful could take her away. The tragedy shook the local community. Many people who had once enjoyed swimming in the area now feared the water. Some called for increased safety measures, while others believed humans needed to respect the ocean and its creatures. Experts reminded the public that shark attacks were rare, but the fear remained. Tom did not want Sarah to be remembered only for her final moments. He honored her love for the ocean by raising awareness about shark activity. He worked with marine organizations to educate others on how to stay safe while swimming. He shared Sarah's story not to spread fear, but to remind people of the power of nature. Months passed, but the pain never fully left. Every time Tom looked at the ocean, he thought of Sarah. She had always felt at home in the water and was now a part of it forever. Though the attack had taken her away, her memory would never fade. She would always be the woman who loved the sea. On August 13, 2022, Lieutenant Commander Eric Thompson, 39, participated in a special operations training exercise off the coast of San Diego, California. He was a dedicated U.S. Navy officer with years of experience in maritime survival and open water training. From a young age, he had dreamed of serving his country, and after years of training, he had become one of the most respected officers in his unit. His expertise in sea-based missions made him a key figure in training younger recruits, ensuring they were prepared for dangerous situations. The training that day was routine. The team conducted a survival exercise, practicing staying afloat in open water for extended periods. The ocean was calm, and the sun reflected off the water's surface. Eric and his teammates floated in formation, maintaining distance as they had been trained. The group remained focused, watching the horizon as part of their safety protocol. Without warning, a massive shadow moved beneath the surface. At first, it seemed like just another passing sea creature, but the water exploded into chaos within moments. A 16-foot great white shark lunged from the depths, its jaws wide open. The beast struck with terrifying speed, targeting Eric before he could react. As the shark clamped its powerful jaws around his leg, the force of the bite sent a shockwave of pain through his body. His teammates heard his muffled cries as he struggled against the predator. Blood clouded the water, spreading quickly around them. Eric tried to free himself, but the shark's grip was unrelenting. The sharp teeth tore through flesh, causing unimaginable pain. His teammates immediately swam toward him, desperate to help. They struck at the shark with their fists and training equipment, trying to scare it away. The shark held on for an eternity, violently shaking Eric. The team worked together, grabbing him and pulling with all their strength. The predator finally released its grip, disappearing into the dark water below. The team lifted Eric onto a rescue boat as he drifted in and out of consciousness. His breathing was shallow and his body was trembling from shock. He had lost a dangerous amount of blood, and his leg was severely damaged. The bite had torn through muscle and bone, leaving behind a deep wound that refused to stop bleeding. The crew applied emergency medical aid, wrapping his leg tightly to slow the blood loss. A helicopter was called in immediately, and within minutes Eric was being airlifted to a hospital. The team remained silent as they watched their leader being carried away, knowing the severity of his injuries. The ocean was calm again, but what had happened was clear. The attack had changed everything in an instant. Eric, who had spent years training for survival, had faced one of the sea's most feared predators. His fate was now in the hands of the medical team, who would fight to save his life. Eric was rushed to the hospital, where a team of doctors worked to stabilize him. The medical staff quickly assessed his injuries, knowing every second was critical. His body had lost a dangerous amount of blood, and his leg was severely damaged from the shark's powerful bite. The deep wounds required immediate surgery to prevent further complications. His lower leg had been crushed beyond repair, forcing doctors to make a difficult decision. To save his life, they had to remove the damaged part of his limb. The surgery was long and complex, but the medical team succeeded in stopping the bleeding and preventing infection. When Eric woke up hours later, he was weak and disoriented. The reality of his injury became clear when he realized that part of his leg was gone. News of the attack spread quickly. Fellow officers, friends, and family gathered at the hospital, awaiting updates on his condition. The Navy took immediate action, reviewing safety measures for open water training exercises. Military officials spoke about the need for stricter monitoring of shark activity in areas where survival drills were conducted. The attack raised concerns about whether current protocols were enough to protect soldiers during similar missions. Eric remained in the hospital for weeks, recovering from his surgery and adjusting to his new reality. Physical therapy became a daily challenge, requiring strength and patience. The road to recovery was long, but his determination never faded. He was surrounded by support from his fellow officers, who reminded him of his courage and leadership. Despite his injury, he remained committed to his role in the Navy. Reports of the incident led to increased research on shark behavior in the region. Experts studied what could have triggered the attack, analyzing patterns of great white shark movements. Some believed that rising water temperatures and changes in prey populations drew more sharks closer to human activity. This raised concerns about future encounters, especially for military personnel trained in similar environments. The attack also had a lasting impact on Eric's team. Many of the officers who had been in the water that day struggled with remembering the event. Seeing their leader suffer such a traumatic injury changed their perspective on survival training. The experience reinforced the dangers of the ocean, reminding them of the risks that came with their profession. As months passed, Eric adapted to his new reality. Though his time in active service had ended, his dedication to the Navy never wavered. He transitioned into a leadership role, mentoring and training recruits, sharing his wisdom and experience. His story became a testament to resilience, proving that strength isn't just measured by physical ability and the will to rise after adversity. The attack may have changed his body, but it never broke his spirit. Instead, it fueled his determination to forge a new path, inspiring those around him with his unwavering courage. The incident led to a series of new safety measures. The Navy introduced updated protocols for training in open water, including advanced monitoring technology to detect large marine predators. Shark deterrent devices were tested to reduce the risk of future encounters. The goal was to prevent another tragedy like the one Eric had endured. Eric's experience became a powerful reminder of nature's unpredictability. His survival was a testament to his courage, and his story continued to influence changes in safety for years to come. On April 11, 2024, 32-year-old diver Felipe Almeida was diving off the coast of Brazil. He was part of a small group of divers exploring the deep waters near an underwater cave, a popular spot for those wanting to experience the region's rich marine life. Felipe was an experienced diver, having spent many years diving in various parts of the world. He had always been drawn to the ocean, fascinated by its mysteries and the creatures that lived within it. His deep knowledge of the sea and its wildlife made him a reliable and well-respected member of the diving community. The group set out early that day, eager to explore the clear waters. Felipe had a special connection to the sea. It was his escape, a place where he felt free and alive. The divers were all seasoned and familiar with the dangers of diving in the open ocean, but nothing could have prepared them for what would happen next. As the divers ventured deeper into the water, they began exploring an area near a rocky outcrop where a hidden cave lay. The ocean was calm and clear. Felipe and his fellow divers admired the colorful fish swimming nearby. Everything seemed normal, and they were all enjoying the beauty of the underwater world. Suddenly, without warning, a large shadow appeared beneath them. Felipe didn't notice it at first, but then, out of nowhere, a 16-foot bull shark lunged at him with terrifying speed. The shark's massive body moved through the water like a missile, striking Felipe with incredible force. The predator's jaws locked onto his leg and torso in a flash, pulling him into its grip. The force of the attack was so powerful that it left Felipe struggling to keep control of his movements. His fellow divers were in shock and immediately rushed to help him. The water around them turned murky with the violence of the shark's attack. Felipe was in severe pain, and blood began to spread through the water. Despite the efforts of his companions to pull him to safety, the shark remained relentless. It didn't release its grip, attacking him with frightening precision. The divers managed to get Felipe to the surface, but he was badly injured. The shark's bite had deeply wounded his leg and torso. Felipe's breathing became shallow, and he was losing a lot of blood. The team quickly signaled for help, and a boat was dispatched to retrieve them. As the ship sped toward them, the divers tried to keep Felipe calm, but the extent of his injuries was clear. As they got Felipe onto the boat and rushed him toward the shore, it was evident that time was running out. The shock of the attack, along with his serious injuries, left Felipe fighting for his life. Unfortunately, despite the best efforts to get him to a hospital in time, Felipe succumbed to his injuries before the helicopter could airlift him to medical care. His passing marked a tragic and unforgettable moment for the diving community. Felipe's death was the first fatal shark attack in the region in over 10 years, and it shook the local community. This tragedy led to re-evaluating safety measures for divers in the area. Local authorities quickly tightened regulations to prevent future incidents and ensure the safety of divers exploring the waters of Brazil's coast. The tragic death of Felipe Almeida on April 11, 2024, sent shockwaves through the diving community. The news spread quickly, and many were deeply saddened by losing such an experienced and passionate diver. Felipe's accident reminded us of the unpredictable dangers lurking in the ocean, even for those well-versed in its risks. His colleagues and friends mourned his passing, and the impact was felt far beyond his immediate circle. Felipe's death was the first fatal shark attack in the region in over a decade, and it led to immediate changes in diving operations off the coast of Brazil. Local authorities, already aware of sharks in the area, were forced to re-evaluate their safety protocols. As a result, they began to enforce stricter regulations for divers, including mandatory safety briefings and more frequent monitoring of the waters to track shark activity. Diving companies in Brazil also took action in response to the tragedy. Many started providing additional shark awareness training for their staff and divers. These sessions taught divers how to recognize the warning signs of shark behavior and respond if they encountered one in the water. Additionally, some companies began to adjust their dive routes, avoiding areas known to be shark hotspots, to reduce the chances of a similar incident occurring again. For the local community, the attack raised difficult questions about the safety of ocean activities. Residents accustomed to living alongside sharks began to question how much risk was acceptable. The attack sparked a wider conversation about the balance between enjoying the beauty of the ocean and ensuring the safety of those who ventured into it. Felipe's family, still grappling with the pain of losing him, became advocates for increased shark safety measures. They were deeply moved by the outpouring of support they received from the diving community, and they felt it was important to honor Felipe's memory by working toward a safer environment for divers. They participated in efforts to raise awareness about the importance of shark conservation and the need for better safety measures for people who spend time in the ocean. The loss of Felipe also served as a somber reminder of the risks faced by those who dive and explore the ocean. While sharks are a natural part of the marine ecosystem, such incidents can occur when humans and sharks cross paths. Divers need to understand the behaviors of marine life and respect their space in the water. In the wake of Felipe's tragic death, the local authorities and diving organizations worked together to implement better safety measures. While born from tragedy, these efforts ultimately aimed to prevent further loss and ensure that divers could continue to enjoy the ocean's beauty safely and responsibly. The memory of Felipe Almeida, a passionate diver who gave his life to the sea, lived on in the changes made to protect others. On October 19, 2024, Sophie Turner was on the adventure of a lifetime. At just 22 years old, she had already traveled to many countries, always seeking new experiences. She loved exploring nature, meeting new people, and discovering different cultures. Madagascar, with its beautiful beaches and rich marine life, had been on her list for a long time. She arrived a week before the attack, eager to explore its clear waters and vibrant coral reefs. Sophie had always loved the ocean. She had learned to swim at a young age and had taken snorkeling trips in different parts of the world. She was confident in the water and could handle herself in various conditions. On the morning of the attack, she decided to go snorkeling alone near a quiet beach. The sky and the water were clear, making it a perfect day for an underwater adventure. She moved carefully over the coral reef, watching colorful fish swim past her. She was focused on the beauty around her when something unexpected happened. Without warning, a large shadow appeared beneath her. Before she could react, a powerful force struck her from behind. A 12-foot tiger shark bit into her lower back with incredible force, its sharp teeth cutting deep into her skin and muscles. The pain was instant and overwhelming. The shark's grip was strong and started thrashing, pulling her under the water. She tried to fight back, but the injury made it impossible for her to move properly. The impact of the attack severed her spinal cord, leaving her unable to control her legs. Panic set in as she struggled to keep her head above water. The shark's violent movements sent shock waves through the water, making it hard for her to breathe. She knew she had to escape, but her body was not responding. Her snorkeling mask had been knocked loose, making it even harder to see. She could feel the predator's powerful presence, and fear filled her mind. Nearby, a local fisherman heard the commotion. He was used to the ocean's sounds, but this was different. The desperate cries for help sent him running toward the water. He jumped into his boat without hesitation and paddled toward the struggling figure. As he got closer, he saw the blood spreading in the water and realized the seriousness of the situation. He reached out and pulled Sophie onto his boat. Her back was severely injured and she was in extreme pain. Her legs were completely still, unresponsive to her attempts to move them. The fisherman worked quickly, applying pressure to stop the bleeding and heading as fast as possible toward the shore. People on the beach rushed to help as he arrived. Someone called for emergency assistance, and she was being prepared for transport within minutes. The reality of what had happened was setting in, but there was little time to process it. Every second counted, and they knew she needed urgent medical care. The ambulance arrived quickly and Sophie was rushed to the nearest hospital. Medical staff worked urgently to stop the bleeding and assess her injuries. Doctors confirmed that the shark's bite had severely damaged her lower back, cutting through nerves and leaving her unable to feel or move her legs. The damage was irreversible. Despite the pain and shock, she remained conscious, struggling to understand what had happened. Her parents were informed immediately. They booked the earliest flight to Madagascar, desperate to be by her side. The hospital staff did everything they could to keep her stable as they prepared her for an emergency flight to a larger medical center. The journey was difficult, but she was strong. When she arrived at the new hospital, more tests confirmed what doctors had feared. The attack had left her permanently paralyzed from the waist down. The news spread quickly, The local community was shocked. People who lived near the beach had always known about sharks in the waters, but an attack like this was rare. Tourists who had planned trips to the area began canceling, afraid of another incident. Officials responded by increasing safety measures. Signs were placed around the beaches, warning swimmers about shark activity. Local guides were instructed to watch visitors in the water closely. Back home, Sophie's friends and family were heartbroken. She had always been full of energy, chasing new experiences without fear. Now, her life had changed forever. The recovery process was long and painful. She had to learn how to live with her new condition. Simple tasks became difficult. Walking was no longer possible, and she had to rely on a wheelchair. But she refused to let the tragedy define her future. After months of treatment and therapy, she slowly adjusted. She shared her story, hoping to raise awareness about ocean safety. She wanted others to be careful but not afraid of the water. Instead of letting fear control her, she inspired people with her strength. The attack led to new discussions about shark behavior. Experts studied the incident, trying to understand why it had happened. Some believed the shark had mistaken her for prey, while others thought it was due to territorial behavior. Whatever the reason, the attack reminded people that the ocean is unpredictable. Sophie's story spread beyond Madagascar. News channels covered her survival, and people worldwide reached out with support. Donations helped her get the best medical care. Scientists and conservationists used her experience to educate others about sharks and how to stay safe in the water. Though the attack changed her life forever, she refused to let it take away her spirit. She continued traveling, finding new ways to experience the world. Instead of focusing on what she had lost, she focused on what she could still achieve. Her story symbolized resilience, proving that life could still be meaningful even in the face of tragedy.